Meantime, states around the country reopening in an effort to support local economies, but governmental aid may not be accessible to all small business owners. And joining us right now with more on that and how our country can recover from this pandemic financially is John Hope Bryant. He's Operation Hope's founder, chairman, and CEO. John, it's great to see you this morning. This is an issue I know you've been talking a lot about, and I know that you've written a letter to the Treasury Secretary, Steven Mnuchin, about what you're calling a new Marshall Plan and what's needed in terms of government aid to help small business owners that are part of your constituency. Tell us about it.
Good morning. Good morning to all of you, and thanks for leading in and being a light for America. We're not going to be able to deficit fund ourselves out of this problem. We're going to have to invest ourselves out of this problem. We need financial literacy for all, finally. We need K through college education as a requirement for all. High school education is not enough to grow this economy in the 21st century. We need mentorship for all, apprenticeships for all, and incentives to do that. I think the way we solve the living wage problem versus the minimum wage problem is not to put the burden on small business owners who can't afford the pay increase. You take that and you use the earned income tax credit to give people, the working people, the same bonus that my Wall Street friends get every year for working. Not a handout, it's a hand up. That will boost them 20, 30, 40% of their pay, allow them more disposable spending. And we all pay for that because we all benefit from that because those folks are going to put most of that money back in the economy. We need an obsession around entrepreneurship, and small business growth. Do you know that 96%, Andrew, of all black businesses in this country are sole proprietorships? No employees, with no back room. So we're experts at busyness, and we're really good at it, whatever the technical issue is, graphic designer or whatever, but there's no back office. There's no business management because we never got a lesson in financial literacy ever or business management. Well, there come a time like this, you need PPP. We don't trust the government. We don't trust banks, and our records aren't right, but we're brilliant. So you got these huge gaps in our economy. This is the time to reimagine everything, to double down and reinvest in our own supply chain. How do you, as you smartly said, how do you do business with a partner you don't trust internationally? This is a chance for us to reinvent and reimagine everything. And a lot of the crazy things I've been saying on your program are actually now being adopted by bipartisan leaders in Washington.
So let's just talk about the living wage issue, because obviously we've had a huge debate about this on the program and around the country for a long time. The idea of a universal basic income is one version of it. It sounds like you're doing a different version of it, but the question is, for people who don't have a job or not going to get a job or going to be hurt by this pandemic, what would your policy be to help those folks?
It's short-term and long-term. You're going to have a dual economy recovery. You're going to have a soft U at the top and an L at the bottom. The 40% of folks who I serve mostly, who are hourly, the 40% of this economy who are hourly workers who've been hit by these jobless claims, they're going to have an L. It's going to smell like, feel like, and hurt like a recession, maybe even occasionally like a depression. They'll get through it. We'll get through it. We've been doing so much with so little for so long. We almost do anything with nothing if you're black in this country. The top of this piece is going to feel like a soft U because of all the stimulus and the higher education, and the folks who are at the top aren't being laid off like the folks at the bottom. So it's once again, even the recovery is going to be detached. I think we got to have some temporary stimulus for those at the bottom, temporary, because the government told America to shut down. This wasn't, the failure of free enterprise. This was a natural disaster, right? Unlike the last crisis where some idiots sold some people some bad mortgages, right? This was just a natural disaster. The government told us to shut down. So the government will, within reason, have to soften the blow as we ramp back up. Now, we've got to have a plan beyond just temporary stimulus. They're going to have to find a way to help people have a bridge over troubled waters. Do you know I've had at Operation Hope, I've done in 2 months, Andrew, Joe, Becky, I've done in 2 months more counseling than in 6 months of last year. It's different counseling, by the way, also. It's more survival than surviving than thriving. But 2 months, and we haven't even gotten into this thing, helping people reimagine their financials. And my website crashed 2 weeks ago. These aren't poor people. This is average Americans. So the issue is throughout the entire economy, we're now realizing we have a fragile American economy that's dependent upon consumers that we haven't armed with financial literacy. Yeah.
So John, we had a conversation just 2 days ago with Senator Portman, and he's not supportive of the $3 trillion plan, which would extend uninsurance or insurance or unemployment benefits, because one of the things that he's nervous about, I think, is that it creates a disincentive for certain people to go to work. In fact, he talked about trying to provide more money, maybe it's similar to what you're talking about in a different context, so that people do go back to work. Where do you stand on that particular issue in terms of people who may not feel comfortable going back to work, and how we should deal with the economics of that?
I mean, look, you just saw a pilot. I mean, you just saw pilots who don't want to go back to work. You got people making six figures who don't want to go back to work. Unfortunately, black people are half the deaths in this pandemic. We're only 13% of the population. And that's just one group within this, a subgroup. So I actually, in the short term, understand folks for health reasons who don't want to go back to work. I do, though, so I don't want to blame the victim here. I don't want to blame somebody who had no part in this pandemic. We didn't bring this on. But on the second part of that, I do agree that stimulus alone is not going to work. People respond to incentives. If you incentivize them to stay home, they will. You incentivize them to get back in the economy, they will. I think things like this EITC idea, which I'm hopeful Treasury will really seriously consider, as they've considered other of my crazy ideas, it is a make sense idea. It's bipartisan. You know, probably my ideal politician has a Republican head and a Democratic heart. This is the time for the Get It Done party, not the Republican Party, not the Democratic Party. It's the Get It Done party. It's time for us all to be Americans and get on with it. The drama has to stop. We're going to disagree, but we can't be disagreeable. We got to get folks a bridge over troubled waters and an incentive to get back to work. And we got to create a new era of jobs, and a supply chain at home.